pal of mine from Tennessee, and I'm going to call him a pal. He's been down here twice taking my courses, but he's just a really good dude. And he sent me this book, The Fighting Bunch. It's the Battle of Athens. And I'm going to leave a link to a description. I'm going to leave a link in the description if you want to go check out this book. But no matter what, make sure that you dig into and understand what happened in Athens, Tennessee after World War II. It's a phenomenal story about how a group of veterans and citizens came together, essentially conducted an armed insurrection in support and defense of the Constitution, freedom, and liberty. This is one of the most powerful stories I have ever read. And man, I'm super thankful that you sent this to me. I've done a lot more research in addition to reading this book, watched a lot of videos. Powerful freaking story. In short, man, it's all about Bill White, who, amongst other folks from his county, went off after World War II got started, after Pearl Harbor, and they fought on behalf of our nation, part of the greatest generation that we've ever had. While they were gone, some local politicians were doing the things and the shady things, all of the shady things, right? Treating people without dignity and respect, beating travelers who are coming through, basically shutting down the polls and making sure that only they and the folks that they wanted were being elected to maintain power. We're talking state level power and the county sheriff, right? So these guys come back and dudes are getting beat, like billy clubbed beat, like beat over the head with weapons, being shot at. And they decide that, man, we have to do something about this. So on the election day, they decided that they were going to ensure free and clear elections. And so they got together and they were poll watching. As they were poll watching, some of the sheriff's department came and ran some guys out, shot some other dudes, and beat some other dudes. But of course, by this time, they had already reached out to their state representatives, they had already reached out to the federal representatives, and nobody was paying attention. But the news media knew that there was something that was happening down here in the county. And so they were on the scene on election day. And everybody knew that one of two things was going to happen. We were going to ensure that everything was counted properly, or the bad guys and the oligarchs of their time and place were going to maintain power. So sure enough, the sheriffs come in, they take all of the ballots and they take them back to the courthouse, I believe it was. It was either the courthouse or the sheriff's department. And they knew at that point in time that they were going to call the election and they were going to maintain power. So they went down to the armory, they passed out a bunch of weapons, and these vets went and laid siege on this courthouse. And then, because bullets weren't enough, they started throwing frickin' dynamite. And then they knew they had to escalate what they were doing, because they knew that the Tennessee National Guard was coming in, right? And once they got in, they were going to control everything and end up listening to what the law enforcement was saying, because they were going to tell a different tale than what was actually happening. And so Bill White, they ended up getting into this building. They killed a few dudes, got killed, but they got in. National Guard arrived. They counted the ballots in front of everybody, and lo and behold, man, they won by an extreme amount. And this is what happens when good folks like you and I, we come together, we band together, we work together for the common good. Because the government is supposed to be restricted, right? If you read the Constitution, the whole point of the Constitution was to restrict the government and keep the government out of the business of the states and the people. And that's what all of our laws are supposed to be. But what it's all turned into is this slow boil over 100 years that's been rising. And we're becoming more and more accustomed and used to it. But at some point in time, that water's going to boil. So we need to make sure that we do what we need to now to prevent that level of extinction of us happening. Team, I appreciate you guys. Until then, you stay out there, You keep grinding and you stay stoked. Team, if you want to master your craft, develop your tactical virtue, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so that you can stay up to date with future content. Consider becoming a channel member. It's going to give you exclusive access to content not available to anybody else. I appreciate you guys. Until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked.
We know you're out there! Come to my voice!